And a warning, this next story does contain some disturbing images. A joint ABC Fairfax investigation has uncovered vision of alleged assaults by Victoria Police, including one involving a disability pensioner. CCTV footage from a house in Melbourne's northern suburbs shows an elderly man being beaten and pepper sprayed at close range. In a statement, Victoria Police says any new evidence will be investigated.
Some of the images we're about to show are quite distressing. Good morning, Nick. They really are distressing. They involve disability pensioner John. We're not using his surname.
That's right. What we really see is some unnecessary police conduct, police overreacting or using excessive force. They're called to John's house because of a mental health issue. His psychologist or psychiatrist asked emergency services to assist him. That would normally mean someone being arrested and taken to hospital. But what we see in the vision is a very, very brutal arrest, a baton being used with extreme force, capsicum spray being sprayed into John's face from a very close distance, and John being humiliated via the spraying of a hose into his eyes, where he's actually filmed by a policeman using his personal mobile phone.
Now, we should explain how this vision came about, because John actually installed these cameras on his home to detect robbers, really. He wasn't expecting to catch this.
That's right. John was a victim of a burglary, and Victims of Crime Compensation gave him this very high-tech security system which captures not just great vision but very, very clear sound. Indeed, one of the really distressing things about watching and listening to the vision is hearing what the police are saying to John. They're goading him, they're mocking him, they're humiliating him as they're interacting with him.
Nick, how recent is this?
This was from October last year, so extremely recent, and I guess, again, a reminder that this sort of conduct, of course, it involves a tiny minority of police, but it does happen. If it was not for the CCTV vision, there's a very good chance, had John complained, and he is complaining, that this case would have gone nowhere. The CCTV vision, of course, makes this a different case indeed. And
the police officer's clearly identifiable there as well, which is good for transparency and clarity too. Look, stories of police brutality go back a very long way in all police forces, and probably most people watching this today who will be older than me might be saying, well, they've seen some pretty shocking stuff over the years. We're constantly told, in Victoria in particular, that the police force is really getting its act together. Do you see this as a random and rare example of where it's not, or of a general trend?
I've been looking at police accountability issues in Victoria for 15 years, or over 15 years. And again, of course, this is a minority, a tiny minority of police involved in sort of conduct such as this. But one thing that's been consistent over that 15 years is the failure of the police complaint system to ensure accountability. So really what needs to happen, and the state government here knows it needs to happen, there needs to be a reform to the police complaints process to inject more independence, to ensure there's more resources, to ensure that if there is an investigation, police go and get that CCTV vision and act upon it.
John's actually articulated that point, because you say he is complaining, but not to the police themselves, because he doesn't trust that they're going to investigate it properly.
Well, ultimately, I think John's view is that the only way he'll get a remedy here, now he's come to the media, things will be different in this case, but if he had not done that, the only way to get a solid remedy would be going to court, putting his own money on the line, fighting a civil action, having the police subpoenaed to court to give evidence. Now, that's an indictment on the police complaint system, that people feel like the existing system where you go to complain is so poor that one has to go to court to seek an outcome.
There's also a culture question that needs to be answered, and that will be distressing to many people watching it this morning, that why isn't there the culture, at least one person in that group who says, stop it now, steady on, this is a bit much, why are you doing that? And when we see examples like this, as rare as you say they are, and we don't see that pushback from any member of the group, it's that group mentality that bothers most, isn't it?
That's right. I mean, one of the really, I think, disturbing things is none of those 6 officers, as far as we can work out, complained afterwards, even quietly. Now, no one wants to dob on their colleagues, I get that. In this case, I mean, no one stands up at the scene, but later back at the office, surely someone should have said, well, this is not a good look. And indeed, looking at the police notes of the incident, the notes the police officers wrote after attending the incident, they leave out some of the key adverse actions that take place.
That we now actually have on film and that we can see. Nick McKenzie, good to talk to you about this morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks for your time.
And you can see more on this story tonight on 7:30, so tune into that.